From prestigious and historic educational institutions that survived the Civil War and have the restless spirits to prove it, to private inner-city research centers whose halls once acted as makeshift morgues and where it's said the souls of bodies displaced still roam. Are you ready for the most haunted universities and colleges in America? Number 5. Kenyon College. Kenyon College is a private liberal arts college housed on an impressive 1,000-acre campus in Gambier, Ohio, that boasts its title as being the oldest private college in the state and is renowned for holding the Brown Family Environmental Center, which hosts 7 different ecosystems across 380 stunning acres. The school's history starts in 1823 when Philander Chase, the first Episcopal bishop of Ohio, sailed to England to secure funds necessary for a new seminary. A year later, in 1824, he would found Kenyon College at Worthington, the same year the village of Gambier was founded, right near Mount Vernon. In 1828, Philander was persuaded by attorney Henry Curtis that he should move the college nearer to Gambier, and in 1829, the new campus's first structure was completed. Early buildings used for the college were nothing more than log structures which provided little protection against the elements, and through the 1840s, most of these structures were replaced entirely or massively improved upon. In 1852, Delta Kappa Epsilon constructed what was actually the first frat house in the entirety of the United States, right at Kenyon. And from 1980 to 2010, the school's men's swim team garnered international attention after it won 31 consecutive NCAA national championships. In 2011, Kenyon College founded the Gund Gallery, a 31,000 square foot art center and exhibition space. Today, Kenyon boasts an enrollment of around just 1,700 students and was labeled as the most selective school regarding its admissions by the American media company U.S. News and World Report. Kenyon College is surrounded by a range of classic ghost stories spanning the ages. At Old Kenyon, in 1905, one Stuart Lathrop Pearson was pledging to Delta Kappa Epsilon when he was led to the train tracks. While no trains were meant to pass this route, sadly, on this night, one did. And when his brothers returned to retrieve him, they found nothing but a mangled body dragged nearly 20 yards from where they'd left him. To this day, many report sighting his shadowy silhouette in the West Wing bullseye, most often through fall times, especially near October 28th, which is the anniversary of his death. It's thought his spirit may be returning to the spot where he was supposed to meet his father the night he was killed. Also at Old Kenyon, in 1949, a fire broke out, killing 9 students in the men's dorm. Unsubstantiated legend tells that several women, some of the men's girlfriends who had sneaked in, were killed in the blaze as well, but that their deaths were covered up to avoid rumors. Many at Old Kenyon have reported disembodied voices, screaming from empty rooms, hot and cold spots, constant and inexplicable electrical problems, and the feeling of never truly being alone. At the Schaefer Dance Studio, which used to hold a pool and has been nicknamed the Greenhouse for its unique glass roof, many report disembodied voices, lights flicking on by themselves, and wet footprints found across the grounds. These phenomena are thought to be the work of the greenhouse ghost, a spirit suspected to belong to a student who died in a diving accident. At the Caples residence in 1979, a student fell down the elevator shaft while sneaking to his girlfriend's room following a party. He was found unconscious the next day and died at the hospital. Many on site report the smell of alcohol, faucets and showers discovered mysteriously on, the elevator acting as if it has a mind of its own, and disturbing accounts in which those sleeping have been awakened by the feeling of someone lying on top of them. Along the middle path are 2 stone pillars that are rumored to hold a gateway to hell. Local legend tells that if you walk through them at exactly midnight while the church bells are ringing, you just might be transported there. Lastly, the Hill Theater is rumored to be haunted by the ghosts of 2 people killed in a car wreck in 1937, with many theatergoers reporting curtains moving on their own, shadowy silhouettes sighted darting about, frequent and inexplicable equipment malfunctions, and encounters with full-bodied apparitions clad clad in old-fashioned clothing, who have actually interacted with the living at great length. Number 4. Fordham University. Fordham University is a private research university located in the respective Fordham neighborhood of the Bronx in New York City, New York, that's actually recognized as the oldest Catholic and Jesuit university throughout the entirety of the northeastern United States, and the third oldest university in New York. Land holding Fordham originally played home to Rose Hill Manor, which was constructed in 1787 by Robert Watts. In 1839, John Hughes, then coadjutor bishop and later Archbishop of New York, would purchase the property and its adjacent 106-acre farm. A year later, in 1840, Hughes would establish St. Joseph's Seminary at the old farm site, and by 1841 would merge the seminary with St. John's College. Rather prestigiously, the school boasted then Reverend but later Archbishop of New York and eventually first American Cardinal John McCloskey as its first president, with faculty consisting of a healthy mix of priests and standard instructors. In 1845, the seminary church Our Lady of Mercy was constructed, and later the same year, a handful of Jesuit priests from St. Mary's College in Kentucky traveled to the site for the sole purpose of staffing St. John's. The college received its charter from state legislature in 1846, and the same year Hughes would sell St. John's to the Jesuits. The seminary would close its doors in 1859, while the ensuing Civil War would harshly impact school proceedings, with many of its alumni serving both Union and Confederate causes. St. John's College would officially become Fordham in 1907 and has served as such ever since. In 2009, a campaign was launched in an effort to raise $500 million for renovations, remodels, and even expansion of the Rose Hill campus. Impressively, the goal was exceeded by a whopping $40 billion, and work on the campus continues to this very day. Fordham University is surrounded by a slew of frightening fables and urban legends. One of the most famous tells that one night through the 1970s, a security guard sat down and slipped his shoes off in the basement of Keating while taking a break. All of the sudden, chairs around him begin moving on their own, slamming into the walls, resulting in the terrified guard fleeing, leaving nothing behind but his shoes to be found in the morning. It's recorded that the guard promptly quit his job and refused to return to the campus ever again. Hughes Hall was used as a filming location in the 1973 horror movie The Exorcist, and is said to play home to a ghostly little boy who's often sighted wandering about, seemingly lost. Finlay Hall originally housed Fordham's medical school, with dissections occurring in its lofts and body parts stored in the basement. Students there have reported encounters with a host of apparitions in old-fashioned clothing, as well as the feeling of being watched or touched by unseen, icy hands. Several students have recounted terrifying instances in which they were awakened to the feeling of being strangled by said hands with no one in sight. In O'Hare Hall, it's said that a construction worker suffered a heart attack and fell from the roof, resulting in his death. Many there have reported strange hammering sounds, footsteps, or voices yelling late at night when no work is occurring. In both Loyola and O'Hare Halls, students and faculty report disembodied whispering, doors opening and closing on their own, objects sighted moving by themselves, and the feeling that someone else is always lurking just out of sight. The Martyrs Court Lalonde student dormitory is said to be haunted by the ghost of a little girl with blonde hair that has been known to manifest without a face. She is often encountered in the restrooms or spied hiding behind curtains or various furniture pieces. Also reported throughout the dorms are doors opening and closing on their own, personal possessions found in odd locations, lights flicking on and off by themselves, and the sounds of ghostly children's laughter heard at night. Lastly, the university has its own cemetery dedicated to upstanding Jesuit brothers, priests, scholars, and the sons of St. Ignatius Loyola. The yard's first burial occurred in 1847 and its last in 1909. Those visiting or passing by have reported extreme cold spots, orbs and mists in the backgrounds of photographs, and shadowy figures sighted stalking the rows of headstones. Number 3. Smith College. Smith College is a private liberal arts women's college in Northampton, Massachusetts that boasts its reputation as the largest institution of the Seven Sisters, which consist of 7 highly renowned and selective liberal arts colleges spread throughout the northeastern United States, most of which that are historically women's schools. The college's history starts in 1861 when Sophia Smith gained a large inheritance following the death of her older brother. Sophia herself went deaf at age 40, was unmarried, and initially intended to open a school for others who shared in her disability. But when the Clark School for the Deaf opened its doors, her plans changed. Following her passing in 1870, Sophia left her fortune for the founding of a women's college. In the next year, Smith College was chartered. The school opened its doors in 1875, boasting only 14 students and 6 faculty members. The campus was planned and planted through the 1890s as a botanical garden and arboretum, which was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. And by 1915 to 1916, the enrollment had risen to over 1,700 students with 163 faculty members. Through World War II, the campus was transformed into the USS Northampton, and between 1942 and 1945, it was utilized to train the country's first female naval officers, known as WAVES, or Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service. Today, the college boasts around 2,600 students on campus, with 250 studying elsewhere, and is the largest privately endowed college for women in the country. Its campus covers 147 acres and includes more than 1,200 varieties of unique trees and shrubs. Interestingly enough, the Sessions House, which was constructed in 1710 by Captain Jonathan Hunt, was acquired by the college in 1969 and is the oldest building owned by Smith. Now a dorm, its staircase was originally designed as a secret passageway and was utilized during colonization as a place to hide during attacks. This very passage is said to have later served as part of the Underground Railroad through the Civil War. Legend tells that Hunt's granddaughter, Lucy, fell madly in love with British General John Burgoyne, and that, during his imprisonment within the home, the two would sneak away to the secret passage to meet. Legend furthers to tell that when John was sent back to England, Lucy was left devastated, causing her spirits unrest. Lucy's ghost can be seen and heard to this day, wandering the halls, forever searching for John, and can even occasionally be witnessed finding and reuniting with John, albeit very briefly, before the two fade into nothingness together. Also rumored to haunt the Sessions House are the spirits of 2 youths who were killed while searching for the passageway, when someone, possibly their own mother, mistook them for burglars and shot them dead. This story furthers to tell that their shooter, again possibly their mother or a family member, took her or their own life in grief, resulting in their spirit also haunting the home. The Chase House was constructed in 1827 and was turned into a school for girls through the 1870s by one Mary A. Burnham. Burnham School was acquired as a campus house in 1968 and is rumored to be haunted by the spirit of a woman who killed her baby. The sounds of both the mother and child crying can be heard to this day, always from out of sight. In 1925, at the Park House, a student died after inhaling fumes from a gas stove left running overnight. Her apparition has been sighted wandering the building, and many students have reported sensing an unseen presence or inexplicable cold spots. The Comstock House, which was built in 1928, is reportedly haunted by a ghost named Gloria, who rattles doors and appears beside sleeping students. And the Talbot House boasts its very own woman in white, as well as the possibly related spirit of a little boy who's said to have died after he was left in the attic to starve. Across campus, students, faculty, security, and even police have reported shadowy figures sighted gliding about, doors opening and closing on their own, disembodied voices, footsteps, objects sighted moving when no one is around them, and lights in empty buildings flicking off and on. The Northrop House is said to be haunted by a student named Francine who, legend tells, fell in love while studying abroad in Paris. When her love stopped writing her, it's said that she took her own life. Her spirit has been sighted roaming about, a gloomy look on her face. Lastly, a number of student and security reports detail phone calls from an entity known as the Whispering Woman. This strange being has been known to attach itself to its victims and wake them up with phone calls in the middle of the night for years or until they leave the campus. Number 2. The University of Georgia. The University of Georgia is a public research university whose main campus, known as Old North Campus, is located in Athens, Georgia, and that boasts its reputation as one of the oldest public universities in the country, as well as the first university in the U.S. to officially gain state charter. In 1784, then Governor of Georgia Lyman Hall convinced the Georgia legislature to grant a whopping 40,000 acres for the purpose of the creation of a college. The original charter for the school was approved by the Georgia General Assembly in 1785 and was written by one Abraham Baldwin. Through its first 16 years of technical operation, the university actually only existed on paper. By 1801, John Millage, who would go on to later act as governor of Georgia, purchased 633 acres on the banks of the Oconee River, gifting it to the university's cause. In 1804, construction was started on the school's first building, which was originally dubbed Franklin College, in honor of none other than Benjamin Franklin. It was completed in 1806 and is today referred to as Old College. The school closed briefly from 1863 to 1866 amidst the heat of the Civil War, and when it reopened, welcomed several notable veterans who went on to become renowned teachers across Georgia. Initially, the university was intended for white males only, but admitted its first female students in 1903 and was racially integrated in 1961. Today, the main campus, Old North Main, is made up of over 460 buildings spanning 762 acres, with the university owning nearly 40,000 more acres spread across 31 counties of Georgia. The University of Georgia also boasts a slew of local legends and nearly countless reports of chilling paranormal activity. Demosthenian Hall is thought to be haunted by the ghost of one Robert Toombs, a former U.S. Senator. Through the 1820s, Toombs was a student at UGA and was dishonorably discharged from the military over a bad game of cards. Legend tells that when he returned to school, he gave a meaningful speech under a large oak tree, and that when he died in 1885, the tree was stricken by lightning. The tree went on to live until 1908, when a portion was moved into the hall for safekeeping. Toombs' restless spirit is said to have been tied to the tree, and his ghost has been sighted stalking the hall, as well as heard pacing in the chambers. Waddell Hall, which was completed in 1821 and is the second oldest building on campus, was named after Moses Waddell, 5th UGA president, who served from 1819 to 1829 honorably. Campus Tale tells a young soldier returned from World War I to find his girlfriend had fallen in love with another man. The couple went into one of the rooms at Waddell to talk when friends heard gunshots, and it was discovered the soldier had taken both his and his ex-girlfriend's lives. At Waddell, many report strange lights and photographs, disembodied voices on the upper floor, and the occasional bang of a very real-sounding gunshot. The Lestrade House was completed in 1847 and is one of two former faculty residences that still remain on campus. The house itself was originally constructed elsewhere, but was moved to its current site in 1903. Many claim the spirit of its former resident Confederate veteran Charles Morris, who actually taught at the university and was the head of the Greek department, still resides on the property, and passers-by have cited his full-bodied apparition peering from various windows, some claim looking over the home and school. The Fine Arts Building is said to be infested by a poltergeist who's been dubbed James O. James, and has been known to move objects or even make them float in midair. Some stories tell James is actually the spirit of a former actor or artist. The Joe Brown Hall was constructed in 1932 as a boys' dorm and was named after Joseph E. Brown, 42nd Governor of Georgia. Legend tells that on Thanksgiving in 1971, everyone went home for the holidays with the exception of one little boy. It's said the boy became depressed and hanged himself in his room, and that no one even discovered his body until break was over. Legend furthers to tell that the stain and stench left from his death couldn't be covered up, and that the area at which he died was actually sealed up permanently. Today, there is a staircase within the building that leads to nowhere, and many report that if you near it, you might just hear knocking, scratching, voices, or even catch a whiff of rotting flesh courtesy of the spirit on the other side. The Phi Mu house is surrounded by several stories. The first tells that one Anna Hamilton lived next door and that she witnessed her fiancé, who was staying in the Phi Mu at the time, murdered by his own family, who buried him beneath the front step. The second tells that one Anna Powell's husband shot himself at the bottom of the stairs. And the third tells the home once belonged to Charles Finizzi, who was having an affair with Anna Hamilton. This version tells Anna attempted to shoot Charles to keep him from coming clean to her husband, but ended up shooting her husband instead. Whatever the story, it's said the property is haunted by the insane spirit of Anna, who is often heard screaming, crying, or cackling maniacally from within. Chandler Hall is said to be haunted by the spirit of one William Samuel Lloyd, who accidentally shot himself in the abdomen while spinning a loaded pistol. Lastly, the home that holds Alpha Gamma Delta was constructed in 1896 and was purchased by James Yancey Carruthers as a wedding gift for his daughter Susie. It's said Susie's fiancé was delayed on the day of their wedding, and that Susie, thinking that he'd bailed, hanged herself in the attic. Susie's apparition has been sighted throughout the building, clad in a beautiful wedding dress with rope marks around her neck. Number 1. Pennsylvania State University. Pennsylvania State University is a state-related land-grant research university that boasts several campuses across the state, with the University Park campus holding its title as Penn State's oldest and largest campus within the State College borough in Pennsylvania. The annual enrollment at University Park totals more than 46,800 students, making it one of the largest universities in the United States. The university was initially founded in 1855 as the Farmers High School of Pennsylvania by the Pennsylvania State Agricultural Society, and was established on 200 acres donated by wealthy politicians, agriculturists, and ironmaster James Irvin. The school's name was changed to the Agricultural College of Pennsylvania in 1862. In the following year, in 1863, was selected as the state's sole land-grant college. Old Main, the oldest significant school building, was first completed in 1867. Eventually, the school's name was changed again to Pennsylvania State College in 1874, and in 1929, Old Main was demolished after it was deemed structurally unsound and unsafe. A year later, in 1930, it was reconstructed into the Old Main we know and love today. By 1936, Penn State had grown exponentially, reaching an enrollment of 5,000, and had also achieved the status of being the state's largest grantor of baccalaureate degrees. In 1953, college president Milton S. Eisenhower, who was actually brother to U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, sought and won permission to elevate the school's status to university, resulting in its name change to Pennsylvania State University. With this welcomed evolution, the school sought to change the surrounding town's name as well from State College, but this attempt failed, resulting in the school receiving its very own post office under the name University Park. Today, in addition to its impressive University Park campus, PSU offers 19 Commonwealth and 4 Special Mission campuses, along with global educational options in the form of Penn State Online. Along with its prestige, Penn State has picked up a much more ominous reputation, one built off its impressive number of urban legends, ghost stories, and reported hauntings. One of the most famous tales tells of George Atherton, who served as university president from 1882 until his death in 1906. George was buried on campus next to Schwab Auditorium near Old Main. The ghost of his wife, Frances, has been sighted in the window of the old botany building across the street from his grave, some say watching over his body. The spirit of George himself has also been sighted both standing near his grave and within the old botany building, sometimes accompanying Francis. At Schwab Auditorium, a theater with room for around 900, many report encounters with the ghost of a former janitor who appears for only seconds before vanishing just as quickly. The ghost of industrialist Charles Schwab, who was a Penn State trustee, whom the building is named after and who funded construction of the auditorium in 1903, began appearing within the theater shortly after his death in 1939. Also reported throughout Schwab is the ghost of a soldier, an unknown female apparition, strange noises from its upper floors, objects sighted moving on their own, and several accounts of theatergoers receiving scratches from phantom hands. Born in 1855, Old Coley was a mule that traveled from Kentucky to assist with the labor in the construction of Old Main. Over time, Old Coley became well loved and acted as a sort of mascot for the early students. When he passed on in 1893, his bones were preserved at the school. Following his death, wherever his bones were being held or displayed, people began reporting odd happenings. The sounds of hooves through the hallways, or the braying of a mule from thin air. Voices, strange sounds, and ghostly cattle and horses are commonly sighted at the Pavilion Theater, which was constructed in 1915 as a livestock judging arena. And the third floor of Runkle Hall is reportedly the most active in a building that holds at least 11 separate entities. Tenor Hall has long been plagued with allegations of witchcraft being performed on its 6th floor, and on its 8th floor many report otherworldly sounds, strange lights, doors opening and closing on their own, and objects sighted floating through the air. Disturbingly, in 1969 in the Patee Library, one Betsy Ruth Aardsma, 22, was murdered in the Stacks area. Though her murder was never solved, many suspect a Penn State faculty member at the time. In the library, students and staff report icy cold spots, a strange puff of fog or smoke that floats among the books, shadowy figures, strange visual flashes of blood when there is none, and the sensation of invisible hands grabbing at one's person. Commonly reported across campus are objects sighted moving on their own, the constant feeling of being watched or followed, and a range of apparitions clad in clothing spanning the ages. One campus urban legend tells that at some point a notable psychic predicted an axe murder on Halloween night at the tallest female dorm on the East Coast, which at the time happened to be Brumbaugh Hall, the freshman dorm. Ever since this prediction, whispers of an axe murderer returning to attack the hall on Halloween night have persisted. Lastly, the Ghost Walk is an old pathway that connects Park Avenue to Pollock Road. Tale tells that a student was caught in a blizzard in the 1860s and became disoriented on the path, freezing to death. The area is said to be haunted by their spirit, which causes sudden gusts of freezing cold wind, dizziness, and an overall eerie feeling. Taking its impressive history into account and coupling it with an absolute mountain of fear-invoking fables, local myths, and seemingly genuine supernatural phenomena, Penn State University seemed an easy choice as our pick for the most haunted university in America. Thank you all for tuning in to our list of picks for the most haunted universities and colleges in America. If you enjoyed listening to our histories and stories as much as we enjoyed telling them to you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn notifications on so you get an alert when fresh content is on the way. Throw us a like if you feel we've earned it, and most importantly, share this upload and our channel with anyone you think deserves a good scare. We'll catch you all next time.